You are listening to the Level Up Your Gaming Podcast, episode 32. Today's episode is a little different than our usual format. We conduct our first interview with another DM podcast group called the Dungeon Masters Dojo. It was a lot of fun having these guys on the show, and we hope you enjoy the interview. If you'd like to participate in the discussion or leave us feedback, you can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. If you like the content and want to hear more of the show, subscribe and we'll ensure you don't miss an episode. New episodes come out almost every Wednesday. Also, please review, tell a friend about the podcast, or share with your gaming group. Now sit back and enjoy the episode. You're listening to the Level Up Your Gaming Podcast. My name is Aaron, and sitting next to me is Jared. And we are also joined today by three very special people. We've got three experienced DMs. They're the hosts of the Dungeon Master Dojo podcast, with new episodes dropping every Tuesday at midnight, additional shorter content every Wednesdays at midnight. Please welcome to the show, Bill, Scott, and Lewis. How you doing, guys?
How you doing? Thank you.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Fantastic.
So, it's been a while since I've been described as special.
No, it hasn't.
We both listened to a little bit of your podcast. I think it's pretty good. We think you guys have some good ideas. So we're going to call you special. Okay, got it.
We'll take that.
So let's get started with it. How about you tell us a little about yourself? How did you guys get into the hobby?
We'll let the oldest guy go first. Bill.
Joy. I was introduced to the hobby of role-playing by the older brother of one of my close friends. I was one of those rambunctious, always getting into trouble kind of kids, and he noticed that I needed direction for some of my overactive imagination and acting out. So we started with some tactical games, and then in 1971, he came home with this wonderful thing called Chainmail, along with the book Blackmore, which is one of the precursors for the original D&D. So we started with that, and I was hooked. I had a fascination with Renaissance warfare, siege weapons in general, typical guy stuff, but I never got over it. And he turned me on to that, and I just went nuts with it.
That's awesome. You a big history buff? Or?
I wasn't. I wasn't. I loved everything about history except learning it in school. Because that was the boring stuff. I mean, it's like, I don't care who did what when. What did they use to blow the wall apart to take over the city? I don't care when they took over the city. What did they use? You know, that's what I was interested in.
Fortunately for me, when I taught history, that's what I'd focus on. I dates are sort of irrelevant if you don't understand the time and the implements of the ages. So I sympathize for you that you had a poor history teacher.
Yeah, I tormented them, and likewise they right back at me. It was horrible. It's like, I'll bring in my trebuchet. Will that give me some points? No.
No.
But that's how I got started really, really early in 1971. Then as games started coming out and popping up over the years, I would just glom onto, different ones, like when, Traveler came out in 78 and thereabouts, and, the entire Palladium system came out, and I grabbed and ran with that for a while. As clunky and as bad as it was, with enough home rules, we polished it up pretty good, and Luke can attest to this. He played with me on the TMNT and the whole Robotech thing. Loved Robotech. And
those were the two games I started with.
Yeah. I mean, that was a little later on for me, but that's how I got into it. And then, after I was already into it for 10, 15 odd years, that's when I met these two guys.
And that's where it all went downhill.
Awesome. That's where it all went downhill. They're still cursing me to this day.
Nope.
Damn it. How about you, Scott? How'd you get into it?
I'm the spunky young guy out of the group, so I got a little later start than Bill. I was 1979. One of my friends from school invited me over for a sleepover because his brother was playing this cool game, and since I was always drawing pictures in school of bare-chested Conan guys and wizards and stuff, he thought I'd be interested in it. And that was the OD&D rules. I think my first character was the Fighting Man. That's what the class was. And then not long after, my grandmother, who worked at Kmart at the time, picked up it was the red box, was my first official D&D set. And yeah, I think it was pretty much the same. I had been playing about 10 or 15 years before I met Lou and Bill. We all had a friend who knew a friend who knew them, type of thing, and we all kind of floated through the same gaming stores and shops back in the 80s and early 90s. So, we'd bump into each other periodically and play at one another's tables.
So that's
been
awesome.
Fun.
Yeah,
really enjoyable.
I was interested in how you three kind of came together because you all started at different times with the hobby.
Right.
So that kind of helps fit that bubble together for me.
Well,
and what about yourself?
Yeah,
Lou?
Actually, it was a blue moon and an eclipse at the same time.
Stars aligned.
And a comet pierced behind that, and everyone said, "Oh, bad omen! Something bad's happening.
Something wicked this week."
For me, I got started with TMNT, and then right after that, Robotech. And I stayed in TMNT and Robotech for a while until I went to the Pony Soldier. That's where we met. That was in 86, I think.
Yeah, 86, 87, right around there. Yeah.
87, yeah. And we've been gaming together pretty much.
Yeah, because I was running the tables then.
Yep. And now it's become a weekly thing with us.
Yeah. It's been a weekly thing for decades.
For about 20 years. So we have a lot of history behind us. We all game together, like I said, weekly. Right now was on Mondays.
Yep.
With COVID, it's a little different now. But it's been nonstop for us. It's a good hobby. It's a good ride, and it's a lot of fun with our friends.
It's awesome. Glad you
And
guys.
it's a good excuse. It's always been like the excuse to stay in contact with your friends, because that was kind of like a common ground. So you get married and have a family, and it's easy to kind of drift apart because of those responsibilities. But that regular kind of gaming appointment is what afforded us the opportunity to really stay in close contact for a very long period of time.
It's been said by a number of our group, and Lou probably more than anybody else. He comes to the game every week to see his friends, and the game is just something to do while he's with his friends.
That's exactly what we say.
That's my model.
Yeah.
That is, like the essence. It's a profound statement, because I think a lot of people do wonder why people game overall. Is it escapism? Is it this? And it's just like, no, it's that opportunity to stay together as friends. It's like that movie Tag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only with dice.
Only with dice. We have one friend who's moved to Florida and then South Carolina, and we have been able to stay in contact with them. My brother, he moved to California, and even though my brother and I, different career paths, different political beliefs, a lot of different religions, gaming is always something that we can sit down, enjoy, and that brings us, always stay together on that.
Oh, so. Absolutely.
It's important.
Yeah.
I think the next logical thing I want to ask you, because you guys started this podcast that you guys have, the Dungeon Master Dojo podcast. Why did you guys start it? Like, what was the inspiration to kind of kick it off the ground?
We're not very bright.
Okay, all right.
There's
it gives us something to do.
Yeah. That was it.
So gaming wasn't enough.
We weren't gaming because of the COVID thing. It's like, well, let's start a podcast. It's actually come up in conversation between Scott and myself and Lou and Scott and Lou and me, and it's like, boy, wouldn't it be cool to do? And then the whole COVID thing hit, and we're like, well, let's do the podcast.
Might as well. We talked about it enough.
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit over quite a few years, and it's like, well, now we have the opportunity. Let's do it.
How'd you decide on the format, and not do maybe like a table format or something like that, where you're actually gaming? Do you want to just do more of an instructional thing, or? Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people do the gaming, which is cool, because I'm still kind of a hardcore nerd. I still will listen to the gaming podcasts, and I'll watch some of the games on YouTube. It kind of feeds my addiction a little bit. But I think when we talked about it, we didn't want to be another one of those. get lost amongst those people who would, maybe have a higher production value, are more experienced in doing it. And both Bill and I have been running games for, a grand total, when you put it all together, it's 90 years. It's almost a century. And Lou has been, while not running as long as us, he's been playing just as long. So he has a perspective outside of that, of the DM, that he brings to the table. Like, what about this content for a show, and or that, or what about catering a little bit to the players? And so it, I didn't see a lot in the way of, how to be a GM.
Well, I think
a lot of people don't run because they really don't know where to start.
Well, I just think we would be fighting against a lot of those, like you said, those guys who do the live play. There are a lot of them are professional voice actors. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
you get lost in the shuffle with them.
I ain't no professional voice actor. In point of fact, actually, I have a question that I thought of this morning for you guys after you guys answer Aaron's, because I don't want to break the train of thought. Go ahead.
Yeah. No.
Okay. I can't stand hearing myself on the podcast. Like, I can't. How do you guys? Do you have the same?
I don't mind listening to you on the podcast at all. I think I am enamored by the melodious tones of your sing-song voice.
Oh.
So I think you're being too hard on
yourself. It's like an angel's, really.
Yes.
You're giving him way too much credit here.
Like, literally,
played his ego so far.
I sat here and I'm like, I think I'm going to do the podcast in like a different accent because I hate the sound of my own voice. Like, I hate it that much.
Well, I said this and I still say it right now. I listen to the podcast that we've done, and it's like I sound so weird. It just doesn't sound like me, and I have not gotten used to it yet.
Well, and I got to listen to it 3 or 4 times because I also do the editing for it.
Oh yeah, so you're very well versed, and you're like, okay, well, this is.
Yeah.
I love it. I sound handsome, so I'm actually looking into changing careers. Doing one of those phone line things.
Thank you for calling.
So, given your excellent oratory skills, is that what I'm looking for? Verbal skills. What do you guys think of, how do you become the GMs of your group? Because you guys are running kind of a GM podcast. So,
well, when it first started, no one else kind of knew how.
Okay.
Really, because I literally started at the base, at ground zero. And I had access to the books. I had access to the stuff, the historical information. I would bring in a lot of explanations of the portcullis and how it would work, and why there's crenelences along the top of the castles. And like I said, I enjoyed I was born 200 years too late. That's what it is. I should have a sword in my hand at all times. But I would bring that to the game and explain it, and everyone's like, "Wow, that's kind of cool." And it's like, you should do that again and again and again and again and again. So that's how I got started, because no one else really knew how to game master. Not that I did.
We just didn't want to, really.
It knows that too.
Typically how it works.
Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah.
Lou.
Yeah. Well, later on when they figured out, that's how he does it. And again and again and again. Yeah, so until it came one day, about 5-6 years ago?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
I came down.
Bill quit.
I finished a scenario that was running for quite some time.
7 years?
7 years, or thereabouts, and said, okay, I'm telling you now, the week after next, I will no longer be game mastering. Plain and simple, I'm just not doing it.
That's when Scott stepped up, and Bill stepped back in.
And then I ended up game mastering back with Scott at our week long and things like that. But I needed a break. I was literally game mastering for almost 40 years straight.
Yeah, no, we, after that 7 years, Bill did get a break, and I think Scott got a small break because we were rotating GMs through our world as we were creating it at the same time.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really, really small. really, really, really small.
For you, it was
really,
small.
really small break. You sound exhausted.
Scott's like, it's too small.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. He keeps looking at me, and I just smile at him.
Well, that's why I did say, and I do make the promise that when we do get started back up on our week longs, I will do the next go around.
There you go.
There
It's
you go,
recorded.
Scott. It's recorded.
Scott, it's recorded, Scott. You have proof.
Witness.
It's you've got some blackmail
I'm
right
going
now.
to
Like,
refer to this.
Someone get the needle. We need the blood for the signature.
I have swords. Right big.
Right.
So one of the things that we like to discuss is kind of the philosophy kind of behind our game mastering, dungeon mastering kind of modes here. I think Jared has spent a long time because he's kind of been our de facto GM for our group for a really long time, and most of the way through our 20 years doing game. So do you guys have a philosophy as GMs or DMs? I mean, like, what are you trying to accomplish?
You first, Scott.
It's all about the players. It's got nothing to do with me. I believe if you're going to run a game, you do so for the enjoyment of your players. And if they're having a good time and they enjoy it and they talk about it afterwards, then you did a really good job.
Knocked it out.
And yeah, and it's got to be all about that. If you want to be good at it, it's got to be about them. You have to know their characters. You have to know personally what they want and what they're looking for. And you have to try to fit that stuff into your campaign, because you're managing a lot of different personalities. You have the personality of the player, then you have the personality of the player character. So you have to kind of feed all of that. You have one guy that, maybe power games a little bit. So he wants a good knockdown drag out that's going to be challenging. You have another person that's really into role playing. So you have to have stuff for them. You have to have a little bit of everything for everybody. It's really got to be all about them. You have to take your ego out of the equation.
I agree.
Love it.
That was well put.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, I've always gone at it with a challenge them and entertain them. Real cut, dry, and simple. But it's the same thing. Who wants to do what, who's looking for what their characters are striving for, and you try to feed them along little at a time. My scenarios have always been long term. 3, 4, 5 years is a normal stint. In a campaign. Yeah, that's normal for me. I mean, the TMNT.
My longest is like 2 years tops.
Yeah, the TMNT world that Lou came in when I was running, that ran 5.5 years. Then we ran into Robotech, and that ran about 6.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. I think we both did, but this really equates to, and I think I know you guys did it because I listened to it, and we also did a show on it too. It's really about knowing your players and what they want and what they like.
Yeah.
And trying to deliver that, to the best of your abilities.
Yep, absolutely.
KYP. Aaron always hawks the KYP episode.
Well, that's true. I mean, it doesn't matter if you want to tell a story about, whatever you want to tell. I mean, you're going to be met with bored, dull eyes if it's not interesting to them or focused around them. So, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
And throwing a wild card out there every now and again, just an encounter that is not story specific, but is entertaining as hell. I've mentioned in one of our episodes, I attacked the paladin with an old man with a wooden spoon in the middle of the street because he got mud splashed on his horse.
It happens.
He jumped off the cart and started beating the legs and tried to pull the paladin off his horse and was beating him with the spoon, and he's just not doing any damage, but the party's like, should we kill him? The paladin's like, no, he's an old man. I want to pay. I don't want money. I want you to wash my horse. I mean, it didn't have anything to do with it. It was just a filler. And it became this thing because every time they went to that town, that old man would show up and he would follow the party and he was carrying this giant wooden spoon. And every time they did anything wrong, he came out of like the shadows and started beating on the characters. It's like he was like their stalker. And, and they're like, we don't even want to go to this town anymore. Or do we? Because it was for the players, it was funny as hell, and they loved it. The characters were like, "Oh, we got to go there again," because it was the biggest. If they wanted magic, they wanted good stuff. It was all in this one city, and they had to go there. And there was their stalker with the wooden spoon waiting for them every single time. And it just turned out to be a happenstance. But the fun little things like that, are memorable.
No, I mean, I couldn't say that any better myself. I mean, we've talked about that time and time again.
So, Lewis, what's your philosophy?
My real philosophy is to let Bill and Scott run the game, and I just enjoy myself right now.
His philosophy
I was hoping one of you would say, like, I want to rule with an iron fist. This is going to happen the way I want it to.
When I play, it's a whole different game.
Lou is our wild card. His philosophy is to torment and see how many crazy Ivans he can create.
Let's see how prepared they are.
Yeah.
Let's push the boundary.
They are never prepared.
They're never prepared.
Neither is most of the other player characters, who often take harm and damage from Lou's antics. So,
it's enough about Lou. Let's move back onto the
that's
GMs.
Lou's philosophy.
No, it's about, for me, it's just about having a good time.
No one's made eye contact for 10 minutes. I'm going to blow something up. He's just got his head down and shaking because he knows it's true.
It's okay. Wear it with pride, Lou. Wear it with pride.
and Lou and Scott are real close friends. All right. You would think they were a married couple the way they bicker and bitch at each other, and you'd think they'd learn that stop sitting next to each other, but they do it every time. And Lou just smiles, and you're like, "Oh, here's Lou's philosophy. What can I do to Scott this week?
I want to see how much hair I can get left from.
He's got none left.
He's got his eyebrows.
He's got his eyebrows."
I think the only time that Aaron and I bicker is when we're trying to get furniture out of IKEA. Then we bicker like a married couple.
You should be bickering because you went to IKEA.
Well, it was partially because of that, but
There you go. There you go.
I lost the car.
Why didn't you just get some cardboard boxes and milk crates? It would have been cheaper and just as sturdy.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But
Don't knock my IKEA furniture.
You okay, Aaron? You okay, Aaron? You okay,
yeah,
Aaron?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, this is your. We'll have a lot to talk about after this.
We will never call those guys again.
No. This is awesome. So, anyways, I want to know more about your gaming group and kind of the group that you've got together here. So, I know that you three came together through meeting each other, years back. How big is the group that you game with?
I think we're at like 16,
16
right?
on average.
Yeah,
Holy-
we have
What?
we have 16 active
What?
16 active members, and we've been up to 22.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of Geritol and
Sitting
blood pressure
around the same
medication when
table,
we
like
get
you're all
together.
in the same room together.
we have had as many as 14 at one table.
Do you rent out rooms or like conference rooms at hotels?
I have a big cellar. Actually, we rent a house
Yeah, we do.
for our getaway.
We run
Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
we run 2 tables simultaneously, same campaign, different adventures. So everybody's a part of the same campaign, but there's different things going on at the table, at each of the tables. And then, we'll kind of rotate players through the next year so that everybody kind of has an opportunity to play at another person's table. It's really tricky when Bill and I planned it out. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen Eric the Viking. If you haven't, you should.
Not yet.
But,
See
It's
it.
on the movie
but they're
list
getting
now.
all
See
these Vikings onto the long ship. And they're like, okay, you can't put Ulf next to Olaf because they don't get along. All right, so he moves Olaf over here. Well, you can't put him there because he slept with Jurgen's wife. So we have
Getting flashbacks to my wedding.
I was going to say,
That's the
it's
next
just like planning the seating at a wedding.
I mean, like,
And
we had to
everyone's
go
an
along
in-law.
Religious lines. We had the Catholics and the Protestants, and then my brother off to the left.
Why? Is he the one Jew?
No, my brother is the one charismatic Christian.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't think I still haven't sat with everybody at our group.
It's
At
tough.
one point, it is hard.
It's hard to because
Do you not get along with Olaf?
Well,
like,
no, he slept with a sheep.
While there's no real problems with the players, it's sometimes the characters have developed
Animosities
towards each other. We'll put it that way very easily.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
It is awesome.
the players will sit side by side and have no problem, and afterwards have a drink, get along. The characters, I hate this one. I will not travel with this one. If I do, I will kill them. Just that kind of stuff, and it's fun as hell.
That is just awesome.
Yeah.
so is it you and Scott then, Bill and Scott running the two tables, or is it
Primarily, yeah. We've actually had up to 3 tables one year when we had 20? We had 21.
22.
We had 22 that year, and we had 3 tables.
Yeah.
With simultaneous.
Is this your regular group? Like this
Yeah.
is like every week? Wow.
Well, no,
Holy
not
moly.
every week.
Okay.
No. Well, I mean,
On weeklies, we could go 10, 12.
yeah, we've
Yeah.
the
It's most of our most of the people we go away with
yeah, we'll show up. I mean,
are at the Monday night.
an average is 8 people, but it's gone up to 12 and 14.
Does it feel like you're hurting cats? I mean,
This is. Do you just bring a broom?
Well, that's why we say
I
we're
run classrooms
lucky
smaller
with
than
the.
that.
We say we're lucky with the group we have because we
Yeah.
do have a bunch of good guys, and it's like a small family because we all really have been engaged with each other.
Oh,
Oh, my
yeah,
family
years.
consists of 6 people. That's like my entire blood-related family.
You're not a good Catholic.
I'm the only Catholic in the family.
Oh, there you go.
yeah, that's
Yeah, we good Catholics have huge families.
But that is just.
Yeah, it is a bit
I just wish I
mind-boggling.
could see it. It's got to be so incredible.
It's interesting. Like I said, we'll have the meetings at the house. My wife is very, very, very tolerant. I mean, we've been married for 31.
Bill.
We've been married for 31 years. We've been together like almost 40, and she still hasn't tried to smother me in my sleep. So
No, not yet.
not yet.
not yet.
She's made threats though.
Oh yeah, not just to me.
My wife
Nope,
started
she's
making those
made-
threats before we even got married. So I think that's how I
His wife
became
threatens me on a
attracted to
regular
her. I was like,
basis.
she just threatened to stab me. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife will come downstairs and she will threaten Scott. He'll say, "Oh,
A lot.
yeah, you're looking lovely this evening, and you're sparkling and glowing." And she'll turn on and spout out a colorful metaphor that would make a truck driver blush. And it's like, well, no, I was serious. She goes, "Oh, well, thank you," and like it never happened.
Your wife and my wife got to get together. They will have a good time.
Oh, no doubt. My wife is a social butterfly. She gets along with everyone, even my gamers, despite the fact that she threatens them on a regular basis. If you guys don't wipe your feet, I will break your legs. It's snowing out. Take your goddamn shoes off. Feel free to edit that. But I mean, that's just, yeah.
We'll just hide that one.
Yeah.
Aaron, make a note.
All right, 10:23.
She will threaten people as they come in. You better not be parking behind me. But we all love her, so because she lets me use the cellar to game, and I have a 4-foot by 8-foot table that will seat about 12 people around it. We have a Mondo mat sitting on top of it, so everyone gets a little bit of hex or square, and off we run.
Awesome.
That is just awesome.
So-
I would love to just see it in action. Like,
So what is the what type of games do you usually run? I mean, for the guys, like what I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you're mostly D&D. Are you doing long campaigns? Are they shorter games that are in their
I think 5 years qualifies
Well,
as the
yes.
long campaign.
Well, for our short
maybe
ones,
you've gotten bored of the 5-year games. I don't know.
we have switched over to a
Jesus,
few
5?
of them. They are shorter. We've done World of Darkness, Marvel, the Donnelly Files, which Scott put together. What are some of the other ones?
Well, actually, Marvel but we'll do different genres through Marvel.
Yes.
We've done fantasy.
It's versatile.
Yeah, it's very, very versatile. We actually fall back on it quite often for our one-offs. run maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks or something like that. We'll do holiday specials that'll run 2, 3 weeks, and
Matt will do like a World of Darkness for around Halloween.
yeah, Matt, another game master of ours, will do it. So
it's been a pleasure talking to you, but as we have learned that you're Marvel fans, I'm just gonna have to gracefully bow out.
All right, Jared, cut the DC crap here.
DC is far superior. Far superior.
Would it make you feel better knowing I played Champions too?
Yes, it would. Okay.
He's back in.
I told you.
We
I got
can't
you back,
possibly
buddy.
be talking about DC movies, though.
Okay, no, DC movies compared, like, I'm a realist. DC movies compared to Marvel don't light a candle, but the comics, the essence of the whole universe is the comics. And DC,
and now you've got him started.
Sorry, I'll stop. Change topic.
Okay, you stop him on that, and once Scott gets going on Star Trek, we'll taser him.
Star Wars.
Jared loves Star Trek.
I love Star Trek.
Oh, jeez.
I love Star Trek.
Yep, far superior.
That's another episode, you boys.
I'll let Jared record a private episode with Scott.
That's a separate episode.
We need
Star Trek episode.
do a jam on how awesome Star Trek is compared with Star Wars.
Yeah, we'll do is getting back on track. Someone has to do it.
Yes.
Sorry. We will bounce between a bunch of different. We've tried Ars Magica and Travelers. I mean, we've tried a bunch of other stuff here and there, little one-offs. There's a few indie games that we've tried, but our fallbacks are, for the most part, we go back to D&D. We were 2.5 for ever and ever.
Forever.
And then we jumped straight from there to 5. There's a couple of us that dabbled in 3.5, 4, 3, was not enamored, was not happy, thought they bastardized the game and was very displeased with them. And then when 5 came out, I seen a few reviews, and Scott seen some reviews, and the two of us looked at each other and went, wow, they finally went back to the essence where it's role play heavy and rules light, and let's give this a try. And we're hooked. So that's our go-to.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite incarnation of the game thus far.
5?
Yeah.
I think everyone's kind of got their own desired game, and their kind of go to our staple. Their staple. I mean, you've heard us talk about it. We typically play with World of Darkness. Now we're kind of.
I love WOD. I love WOD.
For me,
I don't think we play enough of it, but I'm the minority, and I also am a lot darker than the most. In case you haven't noticed.
We typically do it because we're playing modern games, and it's just that D&D is more fantasy centric.
Yes. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
they do have D20 Modern that I tried to do, but I tried to look into it, but honestly, I just didn't have enough experience with the D&D core.
Yep.
To really wrap because the only time that I've ever played D&D was under one of my friends who was a dungeon master, and he only did 3.5. That was all he did. Period. But he loved his rules. So
yeah,
loved his rules.
So of the games that you've played, and you've had a long gaming history here, what do you feel have been your most successful games or campaigns? Or I mean, and for Lou, because you haven't story told as much, what do you think has been your favorite game that you've played in from these guys? Is it the same?
It would be D&D. It'd probably be when we first did our first 7 years big campaign. That was I think one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was The World Asunder was the name of that campaign.
Yeah, that was a great one. I mean, we wrapped that up after 7 years. Could have gone longer, but we had picked up a couple other people that were like, okay, I'm ready. I'll go on that week-long vacation with you, because we ran it during that week. And so we're like, we don't want these players to kind of feel like they're like background characters. We want them to be major players too. So we decided it was time to start a whole new campaign. But at the very end, I mean, there were people that were there were tears in their eyes. So I was like, wow, I don't know if I've pissed people off, or if that just means we've done a really good job.
You did.
We read an epilogue.
I love those moments.
Scott read an epilogue, probably about a page long, page and a half. There were grown men with tears in their eyes, and a lot of grown men with tears in their eyes. And we had 14 people there, I believe, that year. Lou didn't talk to me for about 2 months.
He was upset.
I was upset.
My player character that started from the beginning, my NPC, was the cleric in the party. He was the compass, the moral compass of the group. They constantly asked themselves, what would Mullif do? Or, for God's sakes, don't let Mullif find out about this. Yeah. His mantra was, don't piss off the cleric, because he was pretty powerful. At the very end, Lou finally had a little bit light in his eyes when he realized what I was about to do. Everyone was beat down to like a hit point or two, barely crawling. Mullif had enough heal to get himself up on his feet, walked over, kissed Kylie's forehead, and said, remember me, this needs to be done. Lou's got tears in his eyes. And he suicided himself to release a higher power that would, bring the end to the giant battle that was, coming about. And Lou didn't talk to me for 2 months. He was so pissed because he seen it coming, and there was nothing he could do about it.
Nope, he beat me down himself.
Yeah, I beat him down myself, so he wouldn't get up. I'm the one that brought him to 1 hit point. And he's like, what are you doing? Bam, bam, bam. And it's like, this needs to be done. And the look in his eyes was both terror, rage, and disbelief all at the same time.
I had to take a break.
Yep. So,
there was a lot going on. I mean, almost everybody died. There was a whole table full of people that were dead but didn't know it.
Yeah, that was the year we. Yeah, that
not
was the year
even
we
the
had.
DM.
We had 3 tables that year.
The GM didn't even know they were dead.
Yep.
Oh shit!
Wow.
Oh shit!
I mean, I'm hearing you tell the story. I'm kind of like feeling the chills going through it right now.
Yeah,
just like I can feel the emotion of it like coming through here. I mean,
God!
It sounds like it was just like. I mean, after 7 years, how could you not be emotionally invested in something?
These weren't characters; these were people.
Yeah,
these were
actually.
They were.
These felt like people to. So
I think the big part of that was the storytelling of the whole thing, the way you guys went about it. It just brought life to the whole campaign itself. It just wasn't, a cardboard setting. It was a real world.
Scott and I would sit down, and Scott will attest to this. We sat down for hours and would labor over the smallest points. Scott?
Yeah. Oh, it's true.
I'd go over his house and we'd pour ourselves an adult beverage and sit down and go, what are we going to talk about this evening? And we would go over and over and over stuff. And he would say, all right, I would write something and go, all right, what do you think about this? And then he'd say, oh, I wrote this. And then we'd try to put the pieces together. Scott's a much better storyteller than I. So I'd produce all these little pieces and hand it to him. And then he'd take the pieces and wrap, an absolutely wonderful story around them. And then he'd bounce it off of me, and I'd make, a couple suggestions, little tweaks and things like that. And he'd go back, all right, what about this? And it's like, wow, that's even 10 times better. That's wicked cool. And then we'd unleash it.
So I got a question to follow up what you just said. So Aaron and I are big into collaborative storytelling. We have not been doing it as long as you guys have. We pretty much started collaborative storytelling within the last 2 years. What do you guys feel is some key tools to success for listeners getting into collaborative storytelling?
Whiskey.
That's
an adult beverage.
That's a big one. Yeah.
I'm sorry, adult beverage. Another editing point.
God knows we don't have a clean podcast. All of our listeners know.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Jared can't go 15 minutes without swearing.
Yeah, we have explicit on ours too.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just relax, sit down, you bounce ideas, back and forth, and then I'd just kind of like look at Scott, and I could see the gears turning, and then all of a sudden, he would start pontificating, and come up with this. It's like, wow, I just gave him a little bits and pieces, and he would just come out with this wonderful story. We've been doing this for 10 years now, the collaborative stuff, and then we also do a dual DM system as well, so where it'd be 2 DMs at the same table. That's something I started way back when, and I introduced it to him, and the two of us have taken off with that.
And what do you find to be the most challenging about collaborative storytelling, especially over such a length of 7 years? Is it continuity? Is it what's most challenging?
Continuity actually hasn't been an issue because, like I said, Scott gets a story, and I do a lot with the continuity. It's like, well, what about this and what about this? They call me the continuity master because I'll forget a lot of things, but I don't forget
fill in the holes.
Yeah, I don't forget where the story is going. But Scott bears the brunt of that.
I think who you collaborate with too is important because you have to you have to have enough in common so that you can sit down and collaborate, but someone's got to be better at something than the other person so that the puzzle piece kind of fits together, if you get what I'm saying.
Can't have two of the same thinkers in the same room, so try to say.
Yeah, we think close enough alike so that we can effectively collaborate, but I'm really story driven, but I don't know the rules as well as I should. And Bill does, and Bill knows the mechanics far better. So when it comes to creating a story, I'll say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What kind of monsters can you produce? Because this is how they would kind of like come to be. So he would go ahead and do that. And then I could have an idea of something. This is how I think this is going to go. And he's like, well, you remember that this is how the game mechanic works for this particular instance. So it's having someone that's too close to your talent set. I just don't think you're going to be as effective, but having someone close enough that you can kind of meet on a common ground, but who's got a different skill set than yours is key. Because I've tried to collaborate before with other DMs and it just didn't work. There was too much of the banging of heads. So it just works better with Bill, because I think our skill sets are different than one another's enough so that we could come together and produce a better product for our players, if you will.
I agree wholeheartedly. He's right. We're like-minded, but not so much so that we're clones. And he's right. Yeah, I am very logically driven. Between history, I have a lot of real science knowledge, and I will employ that as well. And between the two of us, like I said, he has a story, and I have the cold hard facts, and then we both get together, and we've had no problem. It's been relatively smooth. It's been eerily smooth how well we work together.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's
awesome.
That's awesome. So in contrast to, your most successful campaigns, which ones do you have that you're like, oh man, that was a big mistake. Like, why did we ever run that?
And Lewis, I can't wait to hear your opinion on this one was terrible. This one.
Lou, tell us what you think was our biggest failure.
To be honest, I can't, like I said, I'm here for my friends first and the game second, but I can't think of anything that I disliked and walked away and said, I wish I didn't play that game.
I think that you crumpled up as a GM, but this was terrible.
This one, trash bucket.
I don't think so, because I said Scott. I've been doing this a long time. Scott's been doing this a long time. We have a formula that we use. It's slightly different for both of us, but not that far off. Where we need to entertain these people, otherwise they're not going to come back. We're trying to drive the hobby. We loved it. I've never left it. Some people take little, hiatus from the game and stuff like that. I've been running an active table at my house weekly since 1978.
Wow.
And until COVID hit is the first time, vacations, obviously, sicknesses, things like that. Holidays, my wife, enacts veto power and said, "You're not gaming on Memorial Day. We're having a picnic. Damn it!
Damn it!
We can eat cheeseburgers and game."
Yes. Oh, how about if we have a giant party and I'll invite some of the other guys? Oh, great! And then we end up gaming afterwards, and I get bitched at for 3 days. But aside from that, since 1978, I've had a game in my house every week since then.
That is just awesome.
It's awesome.
So when you've been doing it that long, you know what works and you recognize it immediately and you change it on the fly.
That makes sense. I mean, I get that. From that
it's like, okay,
you've kind of learned from the mistakes that you made in the past.
You would
this
think
is how
so.
you keep it going.
You hit this old horse enough times, he's going to learn to stay on the trail. So I know I haven't really had any major blunders. Scott and I ran together. Scott's run some stuff without me and stuff like that. So what about you, Scott?
I don't want to sound kind of like a jerk, but I can't think. I mean, there were some games that were better than others, but I can't think of one that's, like a big stinker. I think, in my case, when games haven't gone as well as I had hoped for, it usually had a lot to do with like new players coming in, and they come from a different table. They don't know what, really what to expect, or the play styles just don't mesh, and it's not a good fit. But we've had a couple of those over the years. And fortunately they've resolved themselves, but I've been doing this for 40 years. It's a long time. And there were probably some really rough ones 40 years ago when I first started kind of learning how to be a DM, but I just don't remember that far back. The 80s are a little blurry, so there might have been something in the 80s, but I try, and Bill does too, especially with our week-long getaway. We're like, what are we going to do this year that was different than last year that'll make it more awesome? And, we put our heads together and kind of figure out what we're going to do to kind of up the ante, So one year we showed up with a bunch of terrain we built and just threw it on the table. Flickering bonfires and trees and mountains and stuff like that.
Oh, don't forget the glowing demonic portal.
The glowing demonic portal.
Yes.
Yeah, it was my first glowing demonic portal. It didn't come out bad.
No, it was actually pretty good.
But we try to improve on things every year. And our players are good about it too, because they'll let us know if when you've been gaming with a group of people as long as we have, they'll let you know when you drop the ball, or when you were
there's
awesome.
no filters,
and there's none. So every year we just try to do better and better and better and better. So this second scenario we started 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
Is it 5 years? Yeah,
5 years.
years ago now. I had a lot of trepidation about how it was going to go, because the first 7 years went so well, but we upped the ante. We added new things. It was a new game system. I was like, are the relationships going to be the same? And it's been just as good.
And to Scott, just to finish off what Scott was saying, because they set the bar so high, this is why people don't want a GM either.
Well, you can't be afraid of that. Okay, don't be afraid of your own shadows.
Well, but a lot of us are.
They're afraid of our shadows.
That's the thing. We're gonna be sitting at we're gonna be running the table.
Figures in your
they're gonna be at
table.
when I run the game, Scott's not sitting at that table. Scott's gonna be sitting at some other table.
But he'll just appreciate that you're running the game and enjoy it that much because of it.
Sorry, Lou. We've already also recorded your statement that you would. So I'm pretty sure Bill's going to get the blood contract. Bill, you're on that, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, damn it, it's done, man. I'm sorry.
I'm a tech guy. I can get it erased.
I can get it erased.
I know a guy.
A new adventure unfolds.
You could erase digital. You can't erase blood.
So we've kind of danced around it. I mean, you guys mentioned a bunch of times. I've heard it mentioned so many times in your podcast about this week-long getaway. Where did this kind of start? How long have you guys been doing it for? And what is it exactly? Like, where do you guys go?
That's a good story. We'll let Scott start with that one.
You want to start, Scott? Go ahead.
Yeah, we were old, and there was a lot. Nostalgia is a very powerful thing. And I was thinking, I used to really enjoy the game and getting together with my friends, but now we're grown-ups. Well, almost. We're like of grown-up age. We're still basically 12, but now that we're adults and we have more means than we did, when we were 10, 11, or 12. We're doing more than just delivering newspapers after school. We should go away and do something. Take a gaming vacation. And I brought it up to everybody. I brought it up to Bill, and we kind of threw it together pretty quick.
45 minutes.
And Yeah, it was quick. Bill was going to write a scenario. He was all up on that and create some characters. And 5 of us went up to Old Orchard Beach in I think it was April the first year.
Yeah, it was Old Orchard Beach, Maine.
Yeah. So you got a discount rate on beach houses in the middle of the winter. So it was dirt cheap because no one goes swimming in the middle of the winter.
You're out there for the weather.
Yeah, the only one in a bikini was the homeless guy on the corner.
And that's really where it started with 5 people 12 years ago.
Yeah, and I think we were doing 3 days or 4 days at that.
It was
that
4
time.
days.
4 days.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
a long weekend.
We added days here and there, and we did that kind of in a sneaky fashion because one year there was like a really bad blizzard, so we called the homeowner and we're like, hey, can we get up there like a day early so we missed the blizzard? He's like, yeah, sure, drive on up. So we added a day that year, and then every year after we just kind of like added a day and hoped our wives didn't notice, which I'm sure they did, but and more people came, and we refined things. Bill does all the shopping for and the cooking for the whole week, and we prepare the week-long campaign. Start on Sunday at like 2, run till about 6 till we have dinner, and then every day for the next 5 days, Monday through Friday, it's 9 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. at night that we game. We break for lunch and the day at dinner. And
well, the first 3 or 4 years we were doing from 9 a.m. to midnight, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that was too much.
So.
Yeah, we would get done gaming, make ourselves a drink, and then go out to have our midnight grill, and we'd fire up the grill at midnight.
Awesome.
And then have sausage and burgers and hot dogs, and we ate a lot of stuff that our wives and our doctors would cringe because it was very meat centric. It's like beef,
we have vegetables and
pork.
Fruit now. It's a sign of the age.
Yes. Oh, tonight we're going to have a salad. Everyone's like, "Yay!" It's like, wow, we are old.
Yep.
Yeah, that was me last night. Like, it is a sign of the age. Like last night, we had my mother-in-law over for dinner. And
I'm sorry.
My wife's like, "What do you want?" No, I love my mother. She's the bomb. She's teaching me stuff. So like my wife's like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "I could really go for a Cobb salad." Like, what the hell? Like, yeah, Cobb salad.
But make sure the eggs are fresh.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we get it from the right spot. Of course, then I topped it off with a piece of pie. So, they went the healthy aspects.
That's like
like Lou drinks tea now in the morning, and that's how I knew we were like officially old.
Yes!
when Lou had the little string hanging out of his coffee cup, I'm like, "What's that?" That's tea.
It was
like,
good.
Oh boy,
it was good tea.
I just started that probably last year.
Lou, you have a kindred spirit.
Yes, I do.
Irish breakfast or English
breakfast
breakfast?
Cushion last year because your butt gets sore sitting on the chair. So I had that old man ass gasket while I was running. So yeah.
We tried to trade it out as a whoopee cushion, but no one noticed the difference.
Oh my. No, that outing sounds awesome. I mean, every time I'm sure there's just a ton of stories that you guys have from it. And,
but like you said, it was both our day off, and we're sitting at my kitchen table, and we're having a coffee, and he looks over at me with this kind of whimsical look. Remember when we were kids? I'm out of the clear blue sky. Remember we were kids, and Friday after school, you'd run upstairs, grab your player's handbook, your Crown Royal bag full of dice, hit the store on the way over to Bob's house and grab some Funyuns and Dr. Pepper, because Bob's house had the old beat-up banquet table in the cellar, and the parents didn't care how loud we were and how late you stayed up. And you'd game all Friday night and then sleep at the table or on the floor, and all day Saturday, and then Sunday until your parents came and got you before dinner. He goes, "I want to do that again." And I looked at him and said, find out which one of our houses we could do that and not end up divorced. And we chuckled. And about 20 minutes later, he goes, what if I get a place? And I went, you get a place, I'll write a scenario. 45 minutes later, we had 5 people on board, the place rented, and I had a menu done, and I already started writing the campaign. And what is it, 42?
22 people.
Yeah, it was like 42 awesome. Or 45 days later, we were off and gone. And that was the first year. And the next year we went to 8 people. And then the year after that we went to 12. The year after that was 16. And the guy rented us a larger house. He had more than one because the first one wasn't big enough. And then it just kind of went from there.
It's incredible. It's just, I mean,
amazing.
Again, I still can't get over 22 people at a table, but
3 tables. Yes,
3 tables.
Yeah, we added we got a popcorn machine.
Yes.
We have a gumball machine that Bill loads with a pound of dice and M&Ms. We had this god awful contraption that we had to like get rid of because A, it broke, and B, we were just, one of us was going to end up a diabetic. But it was a bubbler, one of those water coolers that you have at work.
Yeah.
That we'd mix 5 gallons of rum punch in. And yeah,
we called it the apothecary, and I wrote on it the apothecary, the cure for all that ails you. And I'd have to make another batch halfway through the week. We went through 10 gallons.
Yes.
On top of what we all brought as well.
Yeah, pretty much everyone shows up with between 4 to 6 bottles of liquor. And when we set up the very first night, we will rival any bar in town.
Wow.
And everyone has the bottle of their favorite, and then you bring stuff for everyone else to drink as well. And yeah, and almost none of it goes home.
Well, except for the Zima. The Zima just always ends up going home.
That doesn't even go. Nobody's even allowed to bring that.
The Zima doesn't show up.
Zima doesn't even make the cut.
But we've been at this for like an hour now. But I feel like we could probably talk to guys even longer. But I know you guys have lives and things to do, and yeah. But we really
I'm in
appreciate
between wives right now.
Again.
But
as he said,
Lou's
more
the
than
only
once.
one that can tolerate me for long periods of time.
But hope we can do this again with you guys sometime. I mean, this
that would be
fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Great time.
But we'll go ahead and once again, you guys are listening to our interview here with the Dungeon Masters Dojo podcast. They've got new episodes on Tuesday and Wednesday night at midnight. For Jared, Lewis, Scott, Bill, I'm Aaron. Hope you all have a good week, guys.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a great week, everyone.
Good night. Thanks.
Well, that interview was a lot of fun with the Dungeon Masters Dojo. We hope you enjoyed the interview as much as we did. We look forward to bringing you more content like this in the future. If you'd like to get a hold of us or make a suggestion for a future episode topic, you can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or find us on facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. Have a great week, everyone.